everybody, and welcome to The Very Worst, a podcast that is only about all of the Pokemon movies. I'm Matt Allcamp.
I'm Pat Reber.
And I'm Ashley Stoneman.
And it snowed today.
It did. It snowed
it
last
snowed
night
there?
even.
Yeah, it snowed over here in the Penns Woods, good old Pennsylvania.
I'm jealous. We didn't get any snow here. We got like some frost and stuff. No actual snow, so I'm kind of jealous right now.
If you gather up a bunch of frost
It's kind
into
of like
a
snow.
pile, it looks a little like snow.
What I do is I scrape it off all the cars that I see, and then I try to make a snowman out of all the frost that I found.
That's what they
really
call a New
hard.
York snowman.
It's really hard. People do not like it.
That's a thing that people that live elsewhere in the world probably don't know. It has never once snowed in New York City.
No.
It snowed in
We've never
upstate
had
New
it.
York. It snowed in all the states surrounding New York.
Mm-hmm. It snowed in New Jersey. It snows in Pennsylvania. All the states surrounding New York, or New York City rather.
Mm-hmm.
It's just never snowed in New York City, and I'm just aching for it.
Sometimes it
Can't
snows
wait.
so much in you've seen pictures of New York with snow on it, but that's because it snowed so much in New Jersey and the wind blew it all over.
Exactly. Not a lot of people know that.
No.
There
You
was a
know
tornado
this.
in New York City once. In
Queens, yeah.
2010.
Is that true?
Yeah. There's YouTube videos of it. I watch them all the time.
Of
Yeah.
people surfing the tornado?
That happens all the time. Yeah. It was
Only
like the
in
movie
New York.
Twister. Only in New York.
That guy that's dressed like Iron Man in Times Square was trying to fly, jumping up in the middle of the tornado.
No, it's just a bunch of it seems like it was a pretty low level tornado. It caused some storefront damage, but I don't know if anybody really got hurt. But there's just a bunch of videos of New Yorkers or
yelling,
people
"Hey,
in the
I'm
city above-
walking here!" at
To the tornado.
they don't know how to handle a tornado, and it's funny to watch them It's kinda-
Well, yeah. Those kind of extreme weather patterns don't exactly happen in the city.
Yeah, it's
So it
I
was
would do the
something that
same
was a
thing.
little-
I
Yeah.
would be that same dumb looking person. I'm just saying that it's funny to watch.
I heard one almost touched down in Williamsburg one time, but somebody just vaped it and never actually hit the
Okay,
ground.
I'm going to turn my mic off now. I'm just going to... Goodbye, everybody. It was really nice doing this podcast with everyone.
Love telling jokes about boroughs in New York, specific areas.
That's
in
not a
boroughs in New
borough.
York.
Williamsburg is
I'm a
No,
local.
neighborhood.
I'm pretty sure Williamsburg's a borough.
I'm pretty sure it's not. Pretty sure I'm getting actually angry right now.
It's one of the original 13 boroughs.
Founded
one.
by
actually
the
like that
new
one a lot.
Duke of York.
Oh, God damn it, both of you.
What were all the names of the first 13 boroughs? There's Queens, Manhattan, New Jersey,
Oh, my
Colonial
God.
Williams.
Colonial
Oh,
Williamsburg,
Jesus Christ.
Manhattan 2,
That
the
man.
Manhattan Project.
Manhattan
There were
2.
3 named Manhattan.
Right. I'm pretty sure Philadelphia was a borough at one point.
Philadelphia, New York City
Right.
was one of the boroughs.
Correct.
Coney Island.
Coney Island,
Coney Island. Long Island.
Long Island, 9/11, and is there
The Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, the
Statue of Liberty.
Wait,
I
that
like
was
that.
only
I like that a date is one of the boroughs now.
that was only 12. There's a 13th borough, but it's secret. No one's ever known its name.
No, that's actually a fact that there's a secret borough no one's ever been to.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's a door in Central Park and a tree that it leads to the secret borough. No one's ever
The
actually done it.
Narnia borough.
That actually is that. No, that actually is a true fact that there's a tree in Central
There's-
Park where there's a small door.
And no one's
not
ever
sure.
entered it. Guys, do you want to talk about the Rise of Darkrai?
No,
Ashley, why did you feel like you had to say this is true before that last fact?
because we were all making bits and jokes.
Hmm.
Oh. I just wanted
The
to make sure.
Rise of Darkrai, a Pokemon movie about Darkrai, and I mean, I don't remember him rising ever, but
I mean,
He
can
rose
sort
a
of
few
fly.
times.
He
He
levitates.
rose.
he rose. He
Yeah.
sunk.
He either levitates or he has invisible legs that Because he can turn them visible at any time. You see him standing on his legs.
He has legs.
But then sometimes his legs disappear and the height of his hips don't change. He just stays at the same level.
What if that was your superpower, the power to make your legs invisible? And so everyone thought you were flying, but you're really just walking around. You were just a tall man.
Get really into kickboxing.
Yeah, they'd never see it coming.
Yeah.
Literally.
Is that what was happening with Darkrai at some points? Like, when you thought he was being magical or whatever, he was just kicking people?
This movie was wild.
This was a good flick, y'all. This is a good...
you like this one?
This is a good movie.
That's really strong.
This one has punched its way into my top 5, I think.
Yeah,
Really?
It's so bizarre.
It is so bizarre.
They take some real big risks on some of the larger concepts in the movie, and I think it's just fun to watch it play out.
I think this one might have a religious message.
You think so?
Oh, I didn't think it had any message whatsoever.
No, I didn't get the message. If there was a message, it missed me.
I'll explain that when we get to it, but
so
I think there is a confusing and vague religious message in this one.
Well, this one kind of made me feel like I was losing my mind. Like, honestly, because I wasn't sure halfway through if certain things that were happening were already explained or they'd be explained later.
Yeah,
and so I was like,
yeah, me too.
If this has already been explained, I am so lost and I don't know what's going on. And it was one of the first times that during a Pokemon movie, I was like, I give up. I can't. I don't know what's happening right now.
And so you just kind of like let it wash over you like an anxiety attack.
Exactly. I just kind of let it happen because the more you fight it, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason that I liked this movie. I liked that I would run into that same feeling once in a while, but it would only be because they're doing something without explaining it, and then they work their way towards revealing why it happened. And I there's like most Pokemon movies, a guy stands in front of the camera and says, oh, this Pokemon will burst into flames if the most terrible thing possible happens. And then you see it, and then you're like, oh, I know why that happened, because a guy just took 2 minutes to explain it.
Right.
Whereas here, it just happens, and then you have to figure it out from there.
And I think they answer most of the questions that they raise.
Certainly not all of them.
Okay.
Not all of them. Not all of them.
But, well, there's so much in the other movies where stuff just happens and you never know why, and it's over, and we're like, why did that happen at all? There's a very little of that here. There is some, I guess.
Yeah. This movie is extreme. This
is
very, everything they do amplified 100 times.
I feel I wrote down a bunch of times in my notes that, you feel the stakes in this movie. You feel that people are imperiled. You fully understand what, is at risk here.
That's not where I was going, but
no.
But yeah, I agree with that. I'm saying that every Pokemon movie, because it's just bright and colorful and sugary, has to go to some pretty crazy extremes, like the world is going to end, or maybe we are talking about high stakes, but is in this one they're at risk of
fights time.
Yes, space is fighting time. There's a rift in the space-time. Well, a rift in space-time, which might just be the name of a building.
Yeah,
space-time.
I can't quite figure that out.
But then also there's these beings that are interdimensional, and they really conflate.
But that's what's going on. I mean, I'm sorry, we're getting ahead of ourselves here now. But ultimately, that's what's happening. Is there is a rift in the space-time continuum, which is why this alternate universe.
Right, but the rift. Here's what confuses me about this. The rift in the space-time continuum happens because of something that happened in the rift in the space-time continuum, right? It appears that there's a location called the rift in the space-time continuum, and because of what happened there, it tore a rift in the space-time continuum.
Right.
So I would like to clarify that they don't use the word continuum in this movie at all. They just keep calling it space-time because there's a space dimension and a time dimension.
And there's also
they're conflating the two concepts of dimensions of alternate universes or realities.
Right.
And two-dimensional objects versus three-dimensional objects.
Right, they're like, yeah, there's one dimension is space, one dimension is time, but one dimension is also a void where a bunch of things float around, and one dimension is dreams.
But also we have the confusion of there actually being two physical representations of space and time.
Which are both mechanical robots.
Exactly.
Pokemon.
Mechanical robot dragon Pokemon.
And
Yes.
move over legendary Pokemon, move over mythical Pokemon. We now have just gods.
Deities.
Yep.
Imagine you see God. Imagine the blue parts from the sky. Mm-hmm. Jesus' face appears. The Christians were right.
Yeah.
God has shown himself and come to judge the earth.
Yeah.
And you look at it and you're like, that's a Pokemon.
You start throwing Pokeballs at it?
I love that you can catch it. Like in the games, you can catch God and battle with him in a contest.
They describe these Pokemon that they're like,
Pikachu, use Thunderbolt.
They're definitely Pokemon. They also might be a deity.
Pikachu, Volt Tackle God. So I think it's the dimension thing is interesting because it's the same problem that Dungeons and Dragons ran into when they decided that there were other dimensions, like hell was a dimension and space was like there were these weird like interdimensional creatures is what like the monsters in D&D are, but they also used the same language, dimensions, for where they would be pulling like their magic from. So if you cast Firebolt in D&D, you're summoning fire from another dimension. So what D&D ended up having to do is very similar to what this movie kind of implies, is they had to make a dimension that was all fire, and a dimension that was all water, and like there had to be what were called like elemental planes, where it was just like, here's a whole dimension, and all that's in it is fire.
Right.
And so that's what's happening here, I think, is
Water
there's a
world.
dimension that is only space, there's a dimension that is only time, but there's also a dimension that like weird monsters live.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all just weird monsters. Like the entire dimension is just all weird monsters.
Are the Muppets interdimensional creatures?
Yes. That would be a whole no. But humans can infiltrate that universe. So I don't think it's actually a separate universe.
Well, I think
Unless-
the Muppets are interdimensional creatures that have traveled over to
You think they just kind of crossed over into
our
universe?
dimension. Yeah.
Okay, in our dimension. All right. I buy that.
Muppets are just naturally occurring, and then we get to see stories of the Muppets across different realities.
Or
You think the Muppets are
those are
mutation
different realities Muppets?
Do you think the Muppets are a mutation of the species on those planets?
unless we have the similar theory of Pokemon, how they're extraterrestrial. Yeah. Anyway, aliens,
Yeah.
and they came to Earth, and we've learned to coexist with them.
Or that it's taking place on an entirely separate world.
The
that we
Muppets
just
Okay.
assumed that Earth was this whole time. But I think the Muppets are just naturally occurring.
I feel like I can't think about Pokemon anymore without thinking about Muppets.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the two have so many similarities in my mind
Well, they don't
at this
battle
point.
each other, and they're
Just
not
because-
owned.
Sometimes they do.
I think it's just because in this podcast, maybe 2 or 3 times now, we've mentioned Muppets as Pokemon, that now anytime I think about like the logistics of how Pokemon exist, I also like it also makes me think about the logistics of how Muppets exist.
If Muppets were real, then Snuffleupagus would be a mythical Pokemon.
What would be a legendary Pokemon in the Muppet universe?
I mean, like Big Bird, because there's
Because he's a big bird.
Hey, good one.
I'm just pointing that out. All legendary Pokemon are large birds.
That's actually wow. No, no. Is Mew legendary? Mewtwo. Legendary?
Mewtwo isn't legendary, and he's just a big
not a bird.
man
No, I know.
cat.
I just mean the majority of them.
Okay.
Thanks, guys, for picking that one apart.
But no, I'm just thinking about the fact that Mewtwo is just a big man cat, the way that Big Bird's a big
Yes.
man bird.
Right. And Mew is just like a literal cat.
We have so many episodes left to dig into this Muppets versus Pokemon. We need to have one episode
where we're just delving deep into our theories and really just like dissecting every tiny part of Pokemon.
Yeah, I feel like maybe once we get to a boring movie, we'll do that.
wait.
This one.
Okay, The Rise of Darkrai. Let's talk about it. So, it opens with a really long intro.
Yeah.
A really long narration.
Again, recapping every Pokemon movie so far.
But in this interesting way where it's all the legendaries and mythicals we've seen so far, which is up to this point in the games, every one that exists except for Raikou and Manaphy. That doesn't mean anything to the two of you.
Nah.
Okay. But they're all battling. It's like a giant battle between all the guys we've seen so far.
Yeah, they're each one lobs an attack at the next one to appear in chronological order in the movies.
Which I thought looked cool, but it was still a 3-minute intro where it was, again, just a narrator being like, Pokemon are the guardians of the world, and humans and Pokemon live in harmony, and Pokemon can be caretakers and helpmates, he said. Or they can be loners and battler. Like it was just that. So then he starts talking about the space-time rift.
He says it's mysterious.
And we see 2 mechanical dragon things fighting in it. We'll eventually figure out what those things are.
You can tell they're badass though, because the lighting and the way the camera like climbs up them, and it's crazy. It's
and one shoots the other one, and its armor cracks, and that's going to turn out to be a huge part of this movie. And then suddenly we see like a dungeon, and a man is reading about what's happening in space-time in a book. Mm-hmm. And he's got like, it seems like this underground stone wrought dungeon thing with mechanical stuff. It's like the basement from Lost.
It looks like a lab in a castle. Have you ever seen a lab in a castle?
Many times, actually. As a matter of fact.
Actually, we can't go a week without seeing one.
I see one literally
Does this one
every
shoot
week.
rockets out the top? Last one shot rockets out the top.
I think there is no limit to what these labs and castles can do.
By the way, so this person,
mm-hmm.
we don't find out his name yet.
No.
Okay. However, I thought it was a young Professor Oak at first. But as it turns out, it's just a hot version of Professor Oak.
Hang on.
Yes.
Is Professor Oak not hot?
Okay, well, I'll say this. He has a certain element of hotness.
He's got a dad bod.
This is true. He's intelligent.
He speaks like this.
The voice throws me. I can't.
The voice would get to me.
Yeah, the voice.
Hey, do you want to come back to my place and remove our lab coats?
He looks like a square-jawed older man. He looks like he's aging well.
That's true.
Yeah, but I'm not okay.
Actually, I'm sure some people find him very
I am sure they do. This is my own personal preference. This is my own opinion right now. You don't have to think this. If you think Professor Oak is hot, you do you.
If you look like Professor Oak, don't even try to date Ashley. But if you look like the man that lives in the basement,
similar to Professor Oak, I prefer this specific hot version of Professor Oak.
Was it the purple hair and glasses?
It was the purple hair and glasses. Sure.
So yeah, he's hiding in a basement just looking at computers and stuff.
Yeah.
Again, it made me think of the guy from Lost that was like living below the island. Did you guys?
Right. Yeah. What was his name?
Is that a big deal? Did that happen in one of the 3 episodes of Lost I saw? Do you know?
I can't remember like anything from Lost.
Not Penny's boat. Remember that?
And the other dude didn't get knuckle tattoos, but he would wrap toilet paper around his fingers and write knuckle tattoos on the toilet paper to pretend he had knuckle tattoos.
What I like is how we all pretended that the ending was satisfactory.
Oh, I never watched the ending.
Oh, you never watched the end? Oh,
No
Matt, you gotta watch the end. You gotta at least see it because it would piss you off so
everybody's
much.
Dream?
I think they were in heaven.
No, they
were
weren't
in hell.
heaven. No. Jacob created this Hey, spoiler alert for anyone who has not seen.
It's a simulated reality for these people.
Was Jacob God?
Lost. Jacob created this alternate reality where everyone who had died before had a reunion, or everyone who had been lost had a reunion. They all met together, and he brought them into this separate reality almost not they kind of, some people said purgatory because they went to this church where every religion was represented, and they all had a reunion and everything, and then Hurley became Jacob, the new Jacob,
and this
was was able to dictate how things went from then on.
And this was a Pokemon movie?
Yes.
It sounds like it.
Doesn't it? It does sound like the plot of a Pokemon movie.
Nothing you just said made sense to me, by the way. Just like a Pokemon
just a
movie.
Well, maybe you should just watch
it.
Anyway, the sky turns pink and explodes, and an hourglass falls on the ground, and then we get a title screen.
Right.
Do the show about Lost. Sounds insane.
It does really not sound real.
No, anyway, I guess it's bonkers.
Ash has changed clothes.
Ash has got new clothes.
Yeah. He's wearing a vest now.
He's got a new hat.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and we don't have Misty, as we did not before. We also don't have May or Max.
We have somebody new who I'm sure will prove to be have an incredibly deep and exciting character and won't just be a bland placeholder that barely has a personality. Dawn!
Hey, Dawn.
Hi, Dawn. Welcome to the podcast.
I like your hat, Dawn. You have a nice hat.
This is not her breakout movie, but
no.
She shows some character. There's
a little bit. Not much.
She talks about how she likes Pokemon contests, and she talks about how she wants to wear so many dresses.
Yes, and so little time. There's so little time.
Which makes me think, what is a Pokemon contest? Is it just wearing a bunch of different dresses?
Yes.
So
it's a contest to see how fast you can put on the most dresses.
And so we also have a different voice actor for Brock, who is awful.
Well, so yeah, it feels like the new, so Brock's voice still sucks, but it feels like the new voice actors have started settling into their roles.
Yeah.
Right.
They're starting to sound a little more comfortable. Ash feels like Ash in this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
They sound in character.
Is it that they're getting more comfortable, or are we becoming more accustomed to it?
Wait, before we get too ahead of ourselves, I do have a question about Dawn's hat.
Oh, yes, I would love to hear it.
So it's, I guess, a white beanie, a big beanie with the Pokemon logo on it in pink.
Yeah.
Which is totally normal. From there, it seems like a normal hat. Mm-hmm. And then I thought it was part of her hair for a long time until I realized it's part of a hat. She just has two yellow triangles coming down from the bottom of the hat and covering her temples.
Those aren't her hair?
I don't think so.
Oh, yeah, because her hair is...
Her hair's black. The rest of her hair will sway around and they remain in place. I think she's worried about somebody running up and stabbing her with a screwdriver or something. She's got temple guards on.
She's got guards on her temples.
I don't know. Decorative flat.
Or, I'm looking at a picture of it now. They could... Whoa.
That is not from the television
Yeah, just
show.
do not ever Google image search any female characters.
Never. I think we learned this lesson a long time ago, guys. Don't Google Pokemon. Don't do it.
I'm making Pat look at the things that I had to just look at.
Oh, Jesus. I'm not going to do it.
They could... What I'm saying is they could just be barrettes in her hair or something. They could just be
Well, that's possible.
I mean, they kind of hang, though. They don't exactly have a place. Anyway,
she's fine.
She's fine.
I have no problem with it.
Dull.
was trying to figure out the purpose.
No, I'm just saying as a character, not about her hat specifically. I'm just saying as a character, she's fine. She doesn't really come alive in this movie. So I'm excited to see more from Dawn in the future, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully she'll come into her own later on.
She apparently likes Pokemon contests, which are not Pokemon battles.
Right.
Is it more like the dog show of Pokemon?
I believe so, but we don't see it in this movie at all.
What we're gonna get to soon is how the subtitle of this movie should have been The Ocarina of Time, and I really can't wait to get to this moment.
So they're on their way to Alamos Town, and they get there, but they came the wrong direction, so there's a river between them and the town.
Yeah, and the town is up on a plateau that's like, I don't know, 100 feet in the air.
Pokemon does a real good job of like creating cool towns and locations.
Yeah. The landscape was really nice.
Yeah. And then a lady flies by in a hot air balloon.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, you want to ride?
Normal.
All she does is say, hi. And you can hear that it's a woman's voice. And before she is in view, Brock, he's got a new angle that he's working, but he just goes,
He has to gear up to get horny now. He's on a new medicine or something. Her name is Alice, and Brock is immediately, like, he pulls out what he calls his Little Blue Book of Babes.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, guys.
Unbelievable. It's like a binder full of women. Sorry. We can cut that out.
It's like a 10-year-old.
No, it sounds so
Why?
But he pulls out this book, he calls it his Little Blue Book of Babes, and he's like, Alice from Alamos, why are you not in here? I'm such an idiot. And then his Pokemon stabs him with a poisoned dart, and he passes out.
But
yeah,
sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, it's just the type of sociological or just like sociopathic is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Behavior of pulling out a book, having and does he just write in the names of women he's met? Because he's never met Alice before. So what he searches every woman that exists on the island? Is that what's going on?
He seems so upset that he hasn't
written her down in his book.
A woman who he's never met's name down in a book, that he calls himself an idiot. Like I
think this is his new angle. It's not better. It's just new, but he's going with that pathetic, like, oh, please forgive me. I'm such a fuck up. Please, you don't understand. We can just go on a date so I can make it up to you. Like that kind of.
I'm a nice guy. It's one step away from girls only like assholes, and I'm such a nice guy.
Oh yeah. So do you think? So this is a ploy?
I don't know what the book is, but I think But
don't understand how many questions I have about this book. Like, he's never met her before. Yeah. So why would she be in this book?
And why would he be so upset that he didn't have her in this book? He's never met her.
I know. So that means that there are other names of women he's never met that are in this book. How did he get their names?
And there are so many.
And there's so many.
Shocked and disappointed. And he knows it before he opens the book that he doesn't have Alice from Alamos in the book. So he has memorized every woman in the whole world.
Is it just the whole... I'm so confused right now because the level...
If I can offer a bit of a deeper theory on this Little Blue Book of Babes, I think this book is a ploy where he's saying, oh, I have a book here of the most beautiful women in the world.
Oh, smooth.
And I can't believe that I don't have you entered into this book.
Oh,
so
it's a pickup line.
He's also implying that he's in charge of a research project to find the most and record the. He's got a Pokedex of the most beautiful women in the world.
This is a babe Pokedex.
No, hold on. So this is a pickup line where it's like you run into a girl at a bar and you're like, I'm sorry, what's your name? Alice? Oh, how weird. I don't have you in here in my book of the most beautiful women in the world. It's a pickup line. Okay.
What a failure of a pickup line, though. Because what you're saying is, hold on, let me look you up. Oh, you're not one of the most beautiful women in the world. That's interesting.
I can't. No, you say, oh, I can't believe I don't have you in my book. As if, like, oh, I missed you. You're so beautiful. You should be in this book of most beautiful women in the world.
I get that's what the intention is, but also you're telling them that wherever you got this book, whoever compiled this book did not consider this woman one of the most beautiful in the
women.
World.
True.
That's like walking up to somebody being like, hey, I don't care what anyone else in this bar thinks. I think you're really attractive.
And then when he starts babbling too long, his Pokemon just attacks him to knock him out, hits him with a poison attack. And this seems to be the agreed upon procedure for this situation.
It does not seem like the first time it's happened.
Everybody else is like,
no, because when he jumps back up, they're like, yeah, he's used to it. He's used to being tased.
He's used to being like poisoned. The rest of this movie, Brock is pretty good. Like, Brock is exceptionally good in this movie. This is the most I've liked Brock in a movie in all the movies.
Yeah, he gets down to business when he has to.
But this is another low point for Brock. Alice herself is a strange duck.
Yeah.
Well, she's a college student.
She's like...
Oh, that's right.
She describes herself as a hot air balloon tour guide and a music student.
That's right.
And she displays her educated musical expertise by blowing into a leaf.
And this is where it becomes, she takes up a leaf and she starts playing music with the leaf.
Like Princess Zelda in Ocarina of Time.
She puts it up to her mouth and it starts playing music.
Yeah.
She gets the same sound of it that you get on, like, if you get a Casio keyboard and you go to, like, the alien setting. That's the noise she's getting.
She's a music student. She defines herself. They teach this in school.
Is it just any leaf?
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Is it just any leaf? Does she just have a pocket full of leaves?
Pick up a leaf and just start making music, or does it have to be a very specific leaf?
Yeah, does she have a special leaf?
Like if I got like a maple leaf, would that be a different sound?
This is the same leaf all the way through, I think, because she puts it back in her pocket when she's done.
Right.
She's got like a leaf container.
But she doesn't mention it as any special type of leaf. She really doesn't mention it. She just says, yeah, I'm a musician, and then pulls out a leaf.
I'm going to go to an open mic with a leaf. I'm going to learn how to do that thing where you put the grass in between your fingers. And you make that like whistle sound. And I'm going to go to an open mic like, I'm a professional music.
Everyone rolls their eyes like, oh, one of these again.
So
these leaf blowers again.
They're flying around in a hot air balloon. Team Rocket show up in their own balloon. And it's a new balloon. It's a Carnivine instead of a Meowth head.
Why hasn't anybody learned that they shouldn't be traveling by hot air balloon?
It doesn't work out for anybody in any movie, and yet they do it constantly. Team Rocket shows up.
They are there to steal Pikachu. They make it clear at the top of the show. Here we are to steal Pikachu. And then, they run into a bunch of floating balloons that I guess are Pokemon.
And they try to catch them with a net because they still don't know how Pokeballs work. And they get gusted into oblivion.
They do. There's a good joke here from James where one of the balloons gets ready to do... What's that attack where they send like a whirlwind at him?
Gust
is so he takes a deep breath in and puffs his cheeks out. And James says, very nervously because he knows he's about to get attacked, a little yoga will go a long way to stop that swelling. Which I thought was a good, like, last-ditch effort to not get attacked. Then they lose a fight to a bunch of balloons.
That's true. Team Rocket is not as strong as a few balloons.
And we get another opening credit sequence.
Right. Well...
Did I miss a step?
There's a little thing. We just find out that the Pokemon contest that they're going to see is in the Space-Time Towers. And we see 2 large towers with like a weird fancy thing in between them. And then there's like a series of waves that kind of look like back when TVs had reception.
Yeah.
And it used to like cut out for a second and you'd get those like...
It's like a little snowy.
Gets like a little wavy. That happens in the world. And we see the nerd in the basement saying that there are powerful forces colliding with each other. And then we get another credit sequence. Just like all Pokemon movies, there's 2.
Yeah.
There's 2 intros.
There's one that takes in that starts 15 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
Every time.
Well, there's one that says the title of the movie, and it's after the cold open. And then there's one about 15 minutes in the movie where a terrible, terrible song plays.
There's 3. In these last 2 movies, there's 3. There's one when they recap all the movies.
Oh, okay.
And then there's another one when they do, I think, just the American introduction to be like, here's your heroes, don't forget about them. And then they close with a title screen. And then they start the actual movie. And then play a full opening credit with the theme song.
Right. And in this one, y'all...
The worst one yet.
This is the worst song yet.
It's really bad.
The worst.
It's really bad.
Worst.
It sounds like somebody in the production's uncle has a band and was like, please let us write a Pokemon song. Please.
Another day, another fight, another chance to make things right.
It sounds like when the South Park guys try to write a song that's parodying the
a
ballad that plays over in the 80s workout montage.
Ready for the challenge, you and me. We will be heroes.
Gotta run. You gotta be a Pokemon master. It's like that's like the level of quality where it was like somebody was doing an impression of that type of singer.
We will be heroes, Pokemon.
It was bad, y'all.
Yeah, it's very bad.
While it's playing, all of our heroes, Ash, Brock, and Dawn, they battle some random trainers in the town square.
Right.
Okay, Dawn has a Piplup, which is like a little water penguin thing.
Is that what it is? Is
Yes.
that the giant penguin thingy that I saw?
Yes.
It looks like, what's his name? The bad guy from Kirby's Dream Land.
Thank you. I was trying to figure out what that guy's name was too.
King, King something.
Oh, that's the thing that it battles. So Piplup evolves into Prinplup, which evolves into Improleon. Right?
Right.
So Dawn has a Piplup. The person she's fighting has an Improleon, which looks like King.
What is that?
Who's gonna Google it faster?
Yeah, tweet at us.
Josh Yarnell is yelling at us right now. A friend and fan of the show.
Tweet at us at the very worst pod.
Wait,
the hell
no!
is the name of that?
No, hold on
Hold on,
fucking
don't-
second. King Diddy?
King Dedede.
King Dedede.
Day
Yeah.
Day. DDD. It's
There
3
you
of
go.
them, right?
Hold on. We should have done this at the top because I don't know how many people stay till the end.
Do you really think people don't listen to the end of these episodes?
I think there's
Love it.
I think there is a tendency, especially when you're binge listening
Yeah.
to podcasts, that if you decide that the very end of a podcast is all housekeeping, you just jump to the next one.
Folks,
It's worth it.
if you're not sticking around to the end, we rank all these Pokemon movies. It takes about 25 minutes per episode. We all desperately try to remember each Pokemon movie that we watched and how much we like them individually. We do that 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why you wouldn't be listening until the very end.
All right, guys. So
we have a new thing.
If you are one of those extremely few people who aren't listening to all of our ratings, all of our plugs and everything at the end, which were very worth listening to, I will tell you guys we have a phone number now. where you can call and leave a message. And
Yeah, it's like a little experiment we're trying. And so when we ask you to, we've asked you to email. We got a few, not many. We asked you to tweet at us. We get a few more of those. So now we're asking you to do something even more labor intensive, which is pick up your phone and dial a number and call us.
But we're going to play your voicemail on the podcast. How exciting for all 25 people to hear your voice. It's going to be so cool.
It's assuming we deem it appropriate.
It's going to be
please.
the new
some ground rules.
Now, there are some ground rules because, let me explain why this is important. This number is actually tied to my actual phone number. If you abuse it, I will change it. Bad shit will go down. Let's abuse this number.
This isn't Ashley's actual phone number.
This is not my actual phone number,
she
but
did
it's
set
tied
it up so it's connected to her phone and may accidentally just pick up the call when you call to leave a voicemail.
If I do pick up the phone and you say, "Oh, hey, I'm a listener," I will hang up. I'm sorry, because there are times where I'm working or I'm out and about, and I'm so sorry. I'm very sorry if I
This is an incredibly ineffective promotional reach out tool.
It's a good setup. It's gonna work.
Here's the thing.
If she doesn't pick it up and you get to the voicemail, then leave one for us, and then we'll play it on.
We'll play your voicemail on the air. I won't talk to you. I'm sorry. I don't have that kind of time in my day. But
tell us the number.
Actually, wait, just to be safe, I think from now on, you should answer every call that comes to your phone with Ashley from the Very Worst Podcast.
All right, what's
all
the
of my
number?
loved ones will be like, what the fuck? So, 607. This is the number. Please listen, get a pen.
Well, also, we'll do sex and dating advice.
Yes.
We will. Wait, what are... Every podcast that has a call-in segment, we'll do all of them. Anything that... If you listen to any podcast and they do a call-in segment...
Guys, if you need relationship advice, just leave a voicemail. Ask a question. I don't care.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Just getting acquainted with this podcast, we will talk about absolutely anything.
Okay, phone number.
Here we go. Ready?
Wait, do they have a pen?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, can you... All right, tweet at us. Let us know if you have a pen.
At the Very Worst Pod on Twitter.
Okay. Is everybody ready?
When you... Actually,
Jesus
why don't
fucking
we make
Christ.
Why don't we make the first topic that you can call in about? Just tell us what type of pen you have. What type of pen you wrote this down with. What did you write this down on? What did you write the number down on? What did you write the number down with?
Then take a picture of that pen and tweet it at us.
I'm going to wait till Matt and Pat are done with their bits so I can actually read the number. Everybody finished? Are we good? You guys got it out?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, Ashley.
Thank you. 607-323-7168. That's again 607-323-7168. So call that. Leave a voicemail.
I was trying to memorize it fast enough that I could do it with you, but I didn't get it.
What is it, Matt?
607-723-0861.
Nope.
Okay.
Well, call either number and leave a message.
All right, let's hear it one more time.
Okay. Everybody ready? Got your pen? Here we go.
Yes, Ashley, they have a pen.
Because you can't rewind this. You can't listen to it again. 607.
You rewind it, well, no.
Jesus. 607-323-7168. God, this podcast is so bad.
I think that's what I said. All right.
No.
An Emprolion is the final version of a Piplup, and Dawn battles an Emprolion with a Piplup. That's like battling a Charizard with a Charmander. You guys see why that's crazy, right?
It seems nuts.
But she wins, right? Doesn't she win?
She probably does.
I don't remember.
Yeah, so this crowd, they seem very friendly. They don't seem super competitive. It seems like they're just here to have a good time. They love poke battling as like a hobby. So it's like I have video games that I'm very bad at, but I've been playing long enough that my character is still like super leveled up. He's just bad at being that high level.
So you think that's what these people are? They're people
Yeah,
that
I
are
think that's why
bad
they got
at.
beat so easily.
Okay. After the terrible song plays, Alice takes the gang to a garden with a pond, like we have in every third Pokemon movie, like a beautiful garden with a beautiful pond that is about Pokemon and humans living in harmony.
For a long time they didn't.
Yeah, there was a period of time where Pokemons and humans didn't live in harmony, and then this person built a garden, which we've heard 7 or 8 times in this series so far.
We get a little Pikachu short out of this.
Ash takes out all his Pokemon without being invited to, again.
This lady is like, oh yeah, I let all my Pokemon just roam free here. You know, it's a delicate park that they are just free to keep as their own free roaming land. And Ash is like, yeah, hell yeah, let's do this, and lets all of his Pokemon out to start chewing up the garden.
Right. And yeah, we get a mini Pikachu short where all the Pokemon are running around and bumbling and stuff.
And almost breaking ancient artifacts.
And they get into a fight with all of the other Pokemon in the garden until the lady plays her leaf and everybody calms down. She says her grandmother taught it to her, and Brock says it was beautiful, and she says, thanks, Brock. And I'm like on the edge of my seat, like, come on, like, chill, everybody chill, be cool. And he's cool.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, Alice, tread carefully. You don't know what don't engage too much. You don't know what you're playing with here. And then a Gallade appears, and he like jumps out of the tree, and then Alice is like, oh, something must be wrong. Let's follow him. And they run, and they find out a bunch of statues are smashed.
Oh.
And they're like, who did this? And this fucking nerd, not the nerd we've seen before, some other nerd who's dressed like a duke or some shit, walks out of the woods, and he's like, it was Darkrai.
He says it like he's like it's a hero that's arriving on the scene. It was Darkrai.
And he walks out, and he's got his Pokemon just chilling beside him, and it's a big fat Lickilicki.
Yeah, what? That thing's called Lickilicki?
That is the weirdest this entire time, and they say it so seriously, without an ounce of sarcasm at all. Just Lickilicki.
Yeah, like
I love it.
The evolution prior to this is Licky Tongue.
Yes.
Right? Which is weird enough, but when they say it quickly, it sounds like Lickitongue, which is like, okay. I guess that's a sort of a normal word. But throughout this movie, this guy with this grand, like Superman fighting a bad guy voice is going, Licky Licky!
He appears, and he has his Lickilicki. Like, there's a rustling in the bushes, and he, without thinking even for a second, has his Lickilicki blast the bushes with a hyper beam.
Yeah.
And it turns out it was the nerd in the bushes.
Licky hyper beam.
We find out the nerd's name was Tonio.
Antonio.
Right.
No.
Tonio for short, but I thought it was Antonio.
Oh, they introduce him as Antonio, and for the rest of the movie, they call him Tonio.
Because
His
Alice
nickname
calls him
is
Tonio.
Like, everybody named Antonio, their nickname is Tonio, right?
Yeah. That's how names work.
This is my friend Anthony. He goes by Thony.
So we find out that Antonio was hiding in the bushes looking at his laptop, which is fucking weird.
Yeah. He gets hit with that hyper beam because he was just sitting in a thicket.
Apparently perfectly silently and perfectly still looking at his laptop, and then he suddenly started rustling. And he gets shot with a hyper beam. We also find out that the Duke is actually a Baron, and his name is Baron Alberto. And he delusionally believes he's engaged to Alice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's worse than Brock.
It's really bad.
Yeah. Brock has often walked up to women and said, "Let me be your boyfriend," but he's never walked up to a woman and said, "I am your boyfriend."
Or no, he's like, "If you're to be my wife," and Alice tells him, "Well, yeah, I told you no." And I like how Brock is everybody is or Brock especially is very relieved.
That's true.
Because he's about to try the same thing. So
he's like, "Does that work? Can I just walk up to somebody and say that they're my fiance?"
He was a real dick about it, though. He goes up to her and he explains that they're going to be married, and she's clearly had to tell him in the past, like, "Hey, please stop telling people that we're engaged. We're not even dating."
And his response is like, "We'll talk about this later."
Yeah. And then she reveals that she's actually in love with Tonio.
Well, Tonio, yeah, because Tonio has a flashback to grabbing them being kids and him grabbing her unconscious body.
Yeah. That's how I met my wife.
Oh, also, Dawn shows a little bit of character here because she's like, she gets in between her Baron Alberto and Alice, and she's like, "Hey, back off."
Yeah, she sets everybody straight.
Mm-hmm. Then we see those two things fighting again in the space-time rift.
Yeah, big old dragon bird gods.
Right.
Hurling light beams at each other.
And then back in the garden, some statues start falling over, and we see those weird waves again. And this is where Darkrai rises from the ground.
He's not as scary as I thought he would be.
He looks like a gothic ice cream cone.
Yeah, he speaks English, but he talks like a 20-year-old that you're trying to get out of bed at 8 a.m. Go away.
He appears. He says, "Do not come here." And he's supposed to be spooky, but he almost looks like if Cotton Candy was an emo kid. And everybody assumes that Darkrai's the one who knocked over the statues and is causing the waves. So,
right.
Lickilicki, shoot a hyper beam at Darkrai, and he does.
Is again a sentence with more made up words than real ones.
But Darkrai dodges the beam and then tries to shoot Lickilicki. Lickilicki dodges, and it hits Ash. And
Dun, dun,
Ash
dun.
falls into some dark void of the soul.
Yeah. This is crazy. He gets surrounded by an orb of it looks like the light that a black light gives off.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just disappears into darkness until he is on some just dirt road in the middle of nowhere, and then Pikachu appears.
Well, he starts out in that garden that he was already in, just everybody's gone. So in Ash's worst nightmare, he's all alone, and then Darkrai appears, and he goes to release his Pokemon to fight Darkrai, and his Pokeballs just disappear into thin air. And then it's funny that the next part of Ash's worst... So then we see a big monster go right in his face, and Darkrai disappears into a vortex in the ground. And it's funny that one of Ash's deepest nightmares is that Pikachu will be falling into a void, and he will run forward and grab Pikachu and fall into the void with Pikachu, because that happens to Ash every day!
Yeah.
That's also... there's a lot to dig in there if you consider the idea that one of Ash's greatest fears is that he is going to have to save Pikachu, but instead the two of them both just die.
But he does that on, again, a daily basis.
He does. Well, I think he tries to save Pikachu so often that he resents Pikachu at this point, because he's sure it's happened before that when him sacrificing himself to save Pikachu means that he has to die. So now his fear is so specific that it's he tries to save Pikachu and he dies.
He does die a lot.
He does. Almost every movie, right?
Often, pretty much. He often dies trying to save Pikachu from something that wasn't threatening Pikachu's life.
Right.
It was just the ground was sinking into a hole.
Right.
Okay, so Darkrai can talk.
Right.
Darkrai can speak English.
But seems to be very limited, but yes.
And cranky.
And cranky.
He's a grumpy boy. He's a grumpy.
Leave me alone.
He's a grumpy little Tim Burton-y boy.
Yeah, Darkrai really is an emo kid, isn't he? But why are we so surprised? No, why are we not surprised that Darkrai can speak or can talk? Because later on we're surprised by something very similar. I know because I know I'm gonna say his name wrong. Is it Meowth?
That's the exact
nailed
right
it.
name.
Okay, good. So
Later. Later.
Yeah, okay. So Meowth has the ability, like they can switch out. I don't know, ability for English. Like they can learn English. That's one of his abilities.
Yeah.
So why are we not surprised that Darkrai can speak, but we are surprised by something similar later?
Well, it just seems like all legendary and mythical Pokemon can speak. That just seems to be this trend in these movies.
I guess so. I guess you're right.
A lot of them are telepathic, right?
Manaphy can say, or was it Fiona?
No,
Was that
you're
Manaphy?
right.
It was Jirachi can say, like...
Yeah, Jirachi can speak.
Jirachi.
that was Manaphy.
Manaphy can say, I love you.
Jirachi says, Jirachi.
Right. Earlier
Can Celebi speak?
Can who?
Celebi?
Celebi?
Celebi
Celebi could
Celebi
speak.
No.
No? I feel
No.
like Celebi could speak.
I don't remember.
Okay, so
but I don't
Mewtwo could speak.
Yeah, so these legendary
Lucario can
Pokemon
speak.
have the ability to learn English, or speak at least. Like they can have verbal communication, but we're so shocked when other normal Pokemon speak.
I guess so.
Okay, I'm just
guess,
trying
yeah.
to. I'm literally
It's also-
trying to actually understand it.
It's the group that you're referring to later on that's surprised when a different Pokemon can speak is a different group than this group that comes across Darkrai and discovers he can speak. So maybe
Right, okay.
one group is just so used to talking Pokemon that they're like, all right.
And this other group has never seen it before.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I was just
So,
confused by that.
Ash and Pikachu in this nightmare fall into another void, and then Ash commands Pikachu to attack the darkness that's engulfed them.
and then Pikachu zaps him awake in the real world.
And they're awake, yeah.
And they're awake.
Which means this was a shared dream, right? They were in a dream realm, not just having a nightmare.
I can't figure out if Pikachu was in the dream or... Because they do mention something that Ash was holding onto Pikachu so tight he was suffocating Pikachu.
Right.
So I wonder if Ash was having the dream, Pikachu was just laying next to him in bed, and then Ash just started squeezing Pikachu to death, and to save his own little life, Pikachu zaps Ash awake.
That's what I thought.
Jeez, Pikachu's a survivor.
So they're in the Pokemon Center. Ash starts bragging that he's going to beat up Darkrai.
God damn it, Ash! Like, we can't go one movie without him being like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna physically murder. I'm gonna murder that Pokemon with my bare hands. That's what I'm going to do. That's how I'm gonna beat it. I'm not gonna battle it. I'm gonna murder it.
He also, I love the way that he says it too. He says, "I'll give him a battle, but good."
And then Tonio starts staring at the wood on the ground, like the grain of wood on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And it leaps to his feet and he says, "I have to look at more data," and runs away.
What a nerd.
So at this point of the movie, what we have is this like weird love triangle where Tonio loves Alice and Alice loves Tonio. It's not really a love triangle.
It's not a love
It's like a
triangle at
love
all.
line with a interference.
Yeah.
Because
Alice is like a dot, and there's a bunch of rays coming out.
Because there's this
But here's the
Gaston
thing.
motherfucker who's like, "I'm gonna marry you
Yeah,
even if you
well-
don't want me to."
That's the thing. Well, Gaston is here, and Antonio and Alice like each other, but for some reason, since Gaston is like so into Alice, she finds that an obstacle between her and Antonio.
Yeah.
Like, just because someone else is like
Yeah.
crazy about her and she doesn't want them at all, has no interest.
Well,
She
that's
finds
how-
that some sort of obstacle between the relationship between her and Tonio.
That's how relationships go. If you are
Of
on
course.
your wedding, if it's your wedding day and somebody Facebook messages you, "Hey, I have a crush on you," you have to stop everything. Be like, "All right."
I hate to do this, but I have to call off the wedding. Someone else has a crush on me.
And if that guy is a baron,
And then
He wears a uniform.
date me, licky licky.
The other plot points we have going right now is there's a battle raging between two legendary Pokemon that's causing the reality to warp, and then we have what everyone believes is an evil Pokemon just attacking everyone for no reason. That's where we're at in the movie at the moment.
Right. Can't forget about the reality warping fighting god Pokemon.
Yeah, right. Which at this point we have no idea how they tie in at all.
But it's important.
Right. So Tonio runs off to look at that weird diary he has, and he suddenly has this epiphany that Alicia, who is Alice's grandmother, met Darkrai in the garden.
And became friends with it.
And then there's a flashback to Darkrai attacking a bunch of Pokemon and then passing out, and then Alicia
Like picks him up and takes him somewhere safe, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just I really didn't understand this scene, and maybe because I missed something or I wasn't watching carefully or something. But so all these other Pokemon are like they're passing out, and she ignores all of them, and walks over to Darkrai.
What who's doing it?
Darkrai. Walks over to Darkrai, and the one who's attacking is, "Are you okay?
You're right.
Are you hurt? Oh, you look hurt. You poor
It's
thing."
like if
And
you
all
were,
there's like just like dead bodies surrounding.
if
the
you were out in
entire
public
garden.
and a man was swinging a giant bat around and hitting everybody that he came near, and they were
it's-
all falling on the ground unconscious with bat wounds to their head, and then he tripped and fell over, and you
And he's
ran
like,
over to
"Oh."
him, and you were like, "Oh my god, are you
Are
okay?
you okay?
Let me get you to safety."
He's also he's having this flashback because he's reading Alicia, Alice's grandmother's diary.
Very slowly, apparently.
It's very slowly. The last time we saw him, he popped up. It's an emergency situation. We've just established it's an emergency, and he popped up and said, "I got to get back to my lab. There is important data that I need to study because I think I figured this out." And then the next time we see him, he is paging through the diary of
His
an 8-year-old girl that was written 60 years ago.
I want to talk about the music really quickly because there is the music playing in the background is clearly like some 8-bit music going on. It sounds like a video game, and I would not be surprised if they pulled the movie the music from the video game and played it during this scene because it's identical.
Right. There's like an old man who we never see again,
Right.
who looks at them.
And Ash says,
Who looks-
"I've seen you before.
I know him.
Who looks
I
at,
know you."
and this is still in the flashback, who looks at Alicia and Darkrai being friends together, and then there's a voiceover that says, "I needed to leave Oracion for the world." And then we just cut away to our gang in town, just walking around.
This is mind-blowing to me. Oracion is not a Pokemon.
No, I knew it wasn't a Pokemon, so I looked it up. So I got a little, they tell us what it means later, but I got a little sneak preview.
They get into this like a half hour later in the movie. So
Yeah.
for that full half hour, I was just like, where's this Oracion?
Where's Oracion?
That's going to come in and save the day.
Well, I've memorized 900 Pokemon, so I know that there's
I
no
still can't get over that, man. It's still
It's still
insane to
upsetting.
me.
There's only about 800. It's okay, guys. Don't worry.
Oh my god.
If you said any random collection of sounds to me, I would know whether or not it was a Pokemon's name.
I don't know.
Guys,
Yep.
there's something that happens here that I never thought would happen again. It is the most important... Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
Important events. Misty
events?
Staryu knows Bubble Beam.
Mm-hmm.
Important event. Muscle Mullet returns.
Muscle Mullet Man is back.
Muscle Mullet is back.
And he's selling more necklaces.
Yeah, a necklace that doesn't come back into play. Was this movie originally like 45 minutes longer?
And there was a whole thing about her having an amulet that absorbs nightmares or something. It never comes back up.
It doesn't
matter. It doesn't.
It's they go to this Muscle Mullet Man who is known to sell magical charms
that do nothing.
That we never learn the end result of. She just buys this necklace. I don't even know if she's wearing it in the rest of the movie.
She isn't.
But he's there. He shows up. This guy's doing all right.
He's doing all right. He's still selling shit.
He lost the headband. He's not wearing a headband this time. He's still got the hair, though.
So that never comes up again. But Alice
Right.
takes them to the space-time towers, and they're rad as
Right.
hell. They're just these like big, opulent rooms,
The big towers are named
space and time. And in the middle is just some big tower, the space-time tower. And there's a point where she's in there that she says, they don't change rooms. They're in the same room. And she says, this is the space tower. And this is the time tower. And that is very strange.
I think there's a greater lobby for both of them. So
Right.
they're in like the lobby, and they probably could have animated her pointing at each side. Like, this is the space tower. This is the time tower.
But they only show
they
us one of the two.
Yeah.
And she says, this is the space tower, and this is the time tower.
And everybody goes, ah.
They go downstairs, and we find out that Tonio's laboratory is underneath these towers, and he's unconscious on the floor.
Ba-ba-bum.
I feel like this guy probably passes out a lot.
Right. They wake him up, and he's just like, oh, hey, I was sleeping.
Yeah, he wasn't even unconscious. He'd fallen asleep reading a little girl's diary.
Well, he says that the diary is Godey's diary, which game of the year? What does Godey mean?
That might be a little like subliminal suggestion.
But then he shows them that the tower plays music discs, which are kind of cool. They're like these old bronze tactile discs that you put in like a record player sort of thing and they play music, that's kind of cool. And they say that they're going to go to the top of the tower to play them.
Yeah, Dawn specifically is like, oh, that's really cool. Can I try it?
Oh, right. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, sure. Let's go to the top of the tower, Dawn, so that you can, Dawn, do the thing you, Dawn, want to do. So they go to climb the tower, and Ash immediately is like, oh, beat you to the top, and he runs ahead up the stairs.
It's a lot of steps. One person is like, boy, this is a lot of steps. And Ash is like, oh, you're a pussy. And he's
fuck you. And he pushes him over and let's run.
And then it's his idea. Historically, this is a very bad idea for Ash, but it's his idea to run up the steps, the spiral stairs, as fast as he can.
He's trying to prove to everybody back home, like at home who's watching, I know how to do steps now.
I've done this. You haven't seen me try it in a few movies. I got really good.
I'm not going to fall off these ones. And of course, we find out later he does. But
also, he gets tired on his way up. So He's
not good at climbing stairs.
doesn't know what they are.
He does bad at it every third
Every
movie.
time he comes to a stair or a ramp, he's like, oh.
I bet I could figure this out. And every time he's wrong. So
Treats it like a puzzle. I like it so much.
so he runs past everybody because they want to play the music disc because Dawn wants to play the music discs, and then suddenly like the tower extends. It's kind of like if you've ever climbed the Statue of Liberty or whatever. It's just like this metal ring of
the entire time.
All right, Ashley, we get it. You're
right
from
to the top.
New York.
From the bottom to the top.
And now we're here.
It's just this metal ring, but at some point it opens up. There's no walls on any side, so you can just look out over the city, which has to be fucking terrifying.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I'm not generally afraid of heights, but that would make me afraid of heights.
Yeah.
And a hot air balloon starts rising with all of Ash's friends in it.
Yeah, they were actually just taking steps to a platform to get on a hot air balloon to take them to the top of the tower. There's like 60 more stories.
But Ash just kept running because he had to be first. You had to show off, and then so they're rising in a hot air balloon to the top of the tower, and Ash goes, "Hey, let me on too, dude." You're 60.
You're on a stairwell.
Yeah,
you're floating in a hot air balloon.
Do you think you're gonna jump? You're gonna jump 50 stories
this
up?
This is also a common theme for Ash, is where
true.
something is left without him, and he gets so panicked that it's leaving without him that he begs everyone to please let him on after it's left several feet away from whatever loading dock there is. And that his favorite thing is just to like make everyone wait for him until he wants to get on.
To their credit, though, they are just like, no, sorry, nothing we can do, bye.
So he runs to the top of the tower. He's completely exhausted. Tonio says the towers were built as a beacon of hope for people in Pokemon, just like everything else is built as a beacon of hope for people in Pokemon. Like the gardens earlier, like everything in every movie.
They were all polite enough to wait for Ash. They didn't start doing the music disc yet.
And how does Ash repay that politeness?
He goes, I want to do it.
And, like, he goes to snatch it out of Dawn's hands. It's like, the only reason we did this is because Dawn wanted to.
Dawn stands her ground. She's like, no, we came here so I could do this. And Ash is just like, oh. Back before his voice dropped, it was a lot easier to, I guess, just let him get away with doing this weird shit. But now that he sounds like an adult, it's really tough to see him shout like, let me do it.
So they put the music disc on, and it's this cool kind of like old school technology. It starts playing Sufjan Stevens or some shit. I don't know. It starts playing some like churchy music, simple like church bell music.
Right.
And everybody in town starts dancing.
Yeah. This is actually really cool. It's a giant. Turns out this building is a giant dulcimer.
Yeah.
That's auto played by these spinning discs, just telling which hammer to hit which string.
Right. Tonio calls it the world's largest musical instrument.
It's probably a fair assertion.
I'd say so.
It is a 100-story double tower.
Right. As opposed to the world's smallest musical instrument, which is the leaf that Alice gets.
So, by your logic, could you call a church a musical instrument if it has a bell inside of it? So if any church is ringing a bell, couldn't you call that the largest musical instrument?
If I put a speaker on the top of the Empire State Building and a CD player on the bottom of the Empire State Building, and I like wire the two together,
instrument.
At the bar across the street that won't stop playing music all night.
Then they air balloon down, and Ash proclaims, "Balloons rock!"
That's not true.
Then they battle some trainers again. We get some more. Sorry, I almost said their names. We don't know their names yet. We get some more god Pokemon fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And, we haven't mentioned this. The other cool thing about the two god Pokemon fighting is as they fight, the darkness that they're fighting in splits into a bunch of unknown and starts flying around. Did you guys notice that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, every time they, there's, a big explosion, they're surrounded by blackness, and that blackness splits up into, 1,000 unknown that fly in all directions.
Whoa. So one of two things is happening here then. Number one, this is just somebody who got a hold of the unknown Pokemon.
Right.
And they are manipulating reality to revolve around two god Pokemon representing space and time.
Like the unknown are playing a prank on existence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or somebody with control of the unknown
Loki.
is... or maybe unknown, since they are able to alter reality on their own, are made by two gods fighting each other.
Right.
And they just, I guess they bleed
They are-
reality manipulating Pokemon.
Unknown are void incarnate.
Yeah. Ugh.
Wow.
Some deep shit.
This is two Pokemon from between dimensions
Right.
battling each other somewhere between dimensions. So I guess the concept that my best understanding of the concept they're trying to explain here is that one of them defends the third dimension, space, and the other defends the fourth dimension, time.
Which we don't find that out yet, but
Yeah.
we eventually learn that.
But just so I can just so I can understand why
And
they
there's
would somehow be between dimensions fighting. They're considering these dimensions physical spaces,
and there's a
space and time.
rift full of unknown between them,
Yes.
and they got stuck in there, and they're fighting. And and the pink one,
Thank you.
smashes into the sky, and then it's like a rift between the rift and our world, or there. Oh, wait. We realized that Pokemon doesn't take place in our reality. The Pokemon reality. And the sky starts glowing pink, and then Darkrai appears, and he's like, "Go away!"
You cannot be here.
And
Close the curtain.
and Baron Gaston starts attacking it again with his Lickilicki.
Lucky.
And then the Darkrai starts attacking every Pokemon nearby and then runs away. And then Ash chases it, presumably to punch it, like he said in the hospital bed.
Although somebody else has a conversation just prior about the only time this thing has started running from us or attacking us is after you,
Baron
Gaston, have attacked him. You just keep telling your Lickilicki to... I can't say it. You just keep telling your Pokemon to attack him.
Yeah.
And for seemingly no reason, you just don't like this guy.
As he's running after it, we see all the Pokemon that got hit floating around as glowing images.
Yeah, and looking very scared. There's one. It's like a weasel, beaver, bear.
The beaver? Oh, Bibarel.
What's it called?
Bibarel.
Bibarel? The beaver one?
Bidoof turns into Bibarel.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the words beaver, weasel, and bear.
I think it's the combination of Bible and barrel.
Bibliography.
So, Pikachu fights the Darkrai, and then Baron Gaston shows up and attacks it with his Lickilicki, and then the Darkrai hits the Lickilicki, and he says,
Darkrai hits the Lickilicki.
Get up, Lickilicki. This is no time for a nap. And then...
What a dick.
And the Lickilicki glows, and the Baron glows, and the Baron turns into Lickilicki, and he yells, "My royal tongue!"
Yeah, what?
None of this.
He screams it.
So I guess they sort of tenuously explain this at the end of the movie, why it is that he just turns into a Lickilicki. But the explanation isn't satisfying.
Right.
And this is one of those moments I think, Ashley, you were describing earlier, where something that just happens and you have to say, did I tuned out for about 15 seconds. Did I miss why this is happening?
No, exactly. It's like either I blinked for a moment, I didn't quite hear what they said, or I've lost my mind because I don't know what's happening in this movie.
My cat jumped in front of the screen, and I had to shoo her away immediately before this happened. So I thought maybe in the time that it took me to say, get out of the way, and push my cat out of the way.
They explained how this could...
Yeah.
Right, no, I had to scratch my head for a second. And I turned back, and suddenly I don't have an explanation as to why Baron's a Licky.
It ends up being legitimately funny, though. They really, you don't like this guy, and then you have to see him
toddle around as a big fat Lickilicki.
But still talk like Gaston.
So they all go back to the Pokemon Center to be treated. Oh, and somehow Team Rocket is photographers or reporters or something. Do you guys know? This is the thing that I blinked and missed. Why is this?
So we did miss their reintroduction earlier. They show up as Team Pokemon. Right. They get beat up by a bunch of balloons. They
blast off several times during this movie, actually.
Pretty elaborate reporter costumes, especially Meowth. Meowth is dressed like Muscle Mullet Man, or he's got a wig like Muscle Mullet Man, and then he's got sunglasses and a camera and leather jacket. He looks like a cameraman.
Right.
Then Jesse is the reporter, and James is, I guess, just the segment producer. But they're dressed up as reporters because they want to continue pursuing Pikachu, and they thought getting close to the Baron would do it, and they appealed to the Baron's ego by saying, "Oh, we want to do a report on what you're doing here."
Oh, that's why. Okay.
This happened. That really did happen earlier in the movie. So now they're there, and they're taking that role maybe too seriously because they have stopped pursuing Pikachu and are actually now just reporting to Meowth's personal video camera the news of what's going on.
And this is just as a ruse to get close to Pikachu, to steal Pikachu?
It was, but I think they got too into the bit, and
so now they're
just reporting.
Now they just love being reporters,
but with no audience. No one will see this.
This is okay. That does not make this make much more sense. But they're there. So this is what I think is the explanation for why Baron Gaston is a Lickilicki. Tonio says, the real world is merging with the dream world.
Yeah.
So it's just impossible things are now allowed to happen.
And it's later explained that this is Baron's true nightmare. Is to
be a Lickilicki?
To be a Lickilicki because he's so abusive towards his own Pokemon, I assume.
This is true.
And also because who would he shout Lickilicki at? If he... No, you know what? That's not true. If he were a Lickilicki, that's all he would say.
That's true. He would be able to say it all the damn time.
But he doesn't have anybody to push around anymore.
Those shitty trainers from earlier barge in. We like them, but they're bad at being Pokemon trainers.
Not shitty people. Just shitty
those rad people who are shitty Pokemon trainers
burst
in and they're like, we can't leave town. Come see this. And they all go to the edge of town, and the town is covered in this dense fog. And they tell Ash, anytime we go into that fog, we end up back where we started. And Ash says, oh yeah? Let me try it. And he runs as hard as he can into the fog, and he's going like, Urgh! And ends up back in the town, and he's so baffled, and he's like, but I know we ran straight.
He's just jogging, too.
So-
He's just jogging through the fog, but because he knows that this is something that's impossible to do, he's doing that. You won't.
And the exact same thing happens to him that everyone else said happened to them. And he's like, I know I ran straight. So what he assumes is that everybody else that tried this
Wasn't running straight.
Accidentally turned around.
accidentally turned around and didn't notice. And he's the only one who did it right. And so now it proves that something fishy's going on.
There's also
like
somebody, I forget who, but somebody.
He doesn't trust anybody to be competent but himself.
True.
In an attempt
Yeah.
to resolve the situation where a mist has surrounded the town and they can't get out of it, somebody tries to get their Pokemon to do defog attack. They say defog attack.
Yeah, that's
Which
a
is-
thing. Is it an
What's
actual
that
attack?
possibly useful? My car does that.
But just like in your car, it's always a mystery how to get that thing to work.
Oh God! What's the
Is
name of the
like Mazda 2
Pokemon?
a
What's the name of the
Pokemon?
owl Pokemon that she uses?
I don't know who does defog.
It was like an owl-like sort of Pokemon. Come on, human Pokedex. What is
They
it?
all look like owls.
Hoot? Was it a Hoot? Was it a Noctowl? Was it a? There was the and then the only other owl comes much later.
The one
doesn't
who does
exist yet.
defog, like it was like an owl-like thing that did defog, and I didn't realize that was an actual attack. What kind of attack would you use that on somebody? Like,
Okay,
how would you
Maybe if you're
use
fighting, like,
that on another Pokemon?
defog.
Ghastly?
Defog is a move that clears all stat changes in a battle. So if you
Oh,
use
'cause
Tail
those
Whip
are-
and Growl and stuff and change people's
Right.
stats,
Because
you
those
can-
are applied as a type of like mist to their body.
I don't know. I guess
that-
so.
Is it like a cloud of tail whip around something?
Oh wait, I'm wrong.
Ooh.
Okay.
It lowers the target's evasion by one stage.
Okay.
This is
Because-
But
boring.
it's not a
Because there's
literal
less fog?
defogging effect.
In Generation 4, you can use it to clear away the fog from an air. Oh, so in the games
Yeah.
that this movie is based on,
Yeah.
like, this is a Gen 4 movie.
Okay. And there's a
There-
Gen 4 game where you have to clear fog out of an area.
Yeah, apparently you can
What?
use defog outside of combat to clear fog away from, yeah.
It sounds like a blast.
Okay.
Oh, it's Haunch Crow.
Yes, that's the one. Because I remember it ended in crow. But it looks like an
Haunch
owl.
crow?
Yeah,
Haunch
Haunch
Crow.
Crow. Haunch
Does it
Crow
have big
uses it.
legs? Is that why they call it that?
Haunch crow.
Because it's
Bird
got,
with-
it's
is
got
it big-
big old haunches.
Yeah.
But like,
and-
okay. So anyway, moving on. I'm sorry.
yeah, we spent a lot of time on this defog question, and I got it wrong too. Anyway, where are we? Oh yeah, Baron Gaston becomes even more Gaston by raising a mob to fight Darkrai.
Oh yeah.
They start saying "kill the beast."
Yeah, and Jessie says something to him, and he licks her.
Oh yeah, she keeps calling him Baron Licky,
She keeps calling him like,
Licky.
yeah, Baron Lickilicki, and
he licks her.
and every time she does that, he licks her.
He does it to prove that he's not Baron Licky.
And then what's
Stop
his last
calling
name?
me Licky
Baron
Licky.
something?
His name is
Von-
Baron
Baron
Antone. No,
Alberto.
Alberto is his
Baron
actual
Alberto.
name.
Okay. So he licks her from foot to head.
He
says
licks her so
Baron-
many times in
Yeah.
the rest of
Yes.
and he's gotten real comfortable with this tongue, like
Yes.
real fast.
Yeah. It's his greatest nightmare, but he's also kind of into it.
He's into it because he keeps licking everybody. So
No, just
they-
Jessie.
That's true, just Jessie.
She's fine with it. We should clarify.
She is
that
fine
she's
with
not,
it.
like-
She's like, oh, come
upset about
on. Like she's not like
yeah.
she thinks it's a fun game to be
Well,
licked
she was
by
into
this
him.
man Pokemon. Was she into him?
Yeah, for the beginning, she was. She called.
She was like-
I'm almost positive she called him hot, but I couldn't just imagining that. But she was totally into him in the beginning. He was like, "Oh, Mr.
So now she's like,
Handsome
ooh,
Baron."
now he's licking me.
And now he's licking her.
Either Jesse or I called him hot.
I don't remember which one, but somebody
No,
loves to be licked by this man.
I mean, anyway, moving on.
So Alice at this point is like, I don't think Darkrai is behind this. And then Tonio says, well, it's too early to be certain. Which is real well, actually.
Yeah.
And then he flashes back to being kids with Alice.
And child Tonio looks just like a smaller adult Tonio. He's still got the exact same hair, same glasses. Yep. He's wearing the same clothes. It's just when he's fully grown, I think he tears the sleeves off his sweater and makes it a vest.
Well, same thing with Alice. She's literally a smaller version of herself with the same clothes and everything.
She's got like bigger, more childlike eyes. She's wearing a dress. She's got like kind of the child's hair. He looks just like a shrunken version of an adult.
And he reveals that at that point where he picked her up unconscious, what happened was she fell off a cliff and Darkrai saved her.
Right.
And he ran up and grabbed her unconscious body, and she went, "Oh, you saved me. I love you." And he was like, "Yep, I did. Yeah, it was me. I did that."
Yeah. And she reveals, I think the reason he retells this story is because she reveals that the reason she's in love with Tonio is because of him saving her like this as a child.
Which
so
is not...
He I guess, ridden with guilt is like, look, I have to be honest.
Yeah.
It was actually... Does he know it was Darkrai, or it was
just
an invisible force?
He saw Darkrai.
Okay.
And then he was like, I'm not sure. He's doing the same thing that he's doing where she's like, I don't think Darkrai's behind this. And he's like, it's too early to tell. It was like he saw Darkrai catch her and put her on the ground and then disappear. And he was like, I'm not sure that he did that. Like, it's a little too early to tell if he saved her or not.
Alice is a little upset. She's disappointed and clearly questioning her relationship with this guy.
Which she should be.
Yeah.
It's based on a lie that this creep told.
Yeah. But this comes up later.
Right.
It's worth pointing out that she now knows that he's a coward, not a hero.
Right. The mob's stomping around, and Tonio goes back to his little cave and starts looking at video footage on his laptop of the sky going pink incident. And he does, your typical movie, enhance. He doesn't actually say it, but he's like, enhance. And then suddenly he's like, oh, there's a Pokemon in the middle of that rift that I saw. And
my understanding of this scene is him watching a video of the towers, seeing a portal open above the towers, send all those like snowy TV waves out,
right,
and distort reality. And then he rewinds it, watches it again, rewinds it, watches it one more time, and then goes, oh, I see. The source of our problem is this portal that's opening over the tower.
Yeah, and then he zooms in and he sees that pink god Pokemon that we saw before. Yeah. Then that mob starts fighting Darkrai. Darkrai's kicking their asses up and down the fucking street. Team Rocket reveals that they like Darkrai just because Darkrai looks evil.
Yeah.
And Baron Lickilicki starts fighting Darkrai himself with his actual body.
It's pretty funny. He's like, I think I got the hang of this. And he starts trying the licky attacks. He's calling them out as he does them, like he's commanding himself.
Let me do my tongue whip attack, and then he sticks his own tongue out and grabs. That's like if you were boxing and you were like, now I will do a punch, now I will do a jab, now I will do an uppercut.
But he gets his ass handed to him.
Yeah, he gets thrown into a tree with Team Rocket.
They blast off again.
That's their second blast off?
Yeah, it's their second one.
Yeah, remember when they lost a fight to a bunch of balloons?
Yep. So they finally name Palkia, right? Like, they figure out what's going on. They talk about how Palkia is crossing through a rift in space-time, and Palkia is the deity Pokemon who rules space, whatever that means.
Yeah, the dimension of space.
Right.
The dimension where things exist in space.
And they discover that when Darkrai is yelling, "Go away," and "Do not interfere," or whatever, he's talking to Palkia, not anybody else, which is just a blind deduction. They're like, also, we know this now. It's
He
like,
actually likes us.
right. With no evidence. And then they all go to the space-time tower where Palkia and Darkrai are fighting each other. And the dream reality goes away. All the dream Pokemon disappear, and Baron Lickilicki turns back into Baron Gaston. Like there's not a lot to comment on here. It's just a bunch of action, just things happening one after another.
Yeah. It's two birds screaming and shooting bursts of energy at each other in the sky while all of existence hangs in the balance.
Yeah, we get another.
It's pretty standard stuff.
we get another one. We get like the town's floating in this dark miasmic dimension. They notice the crack in Palkia's shoulder. Dialga pushes through. We find out that Dialga governs is another deity.
He's a Pokemon sent to govern all of time.
Right.
That's his power.
All right.
They're two glowing mechanical dragons fighting in the sky, and Darkrai, who's an evil ice cream with a scarf, keeps running in and like fighting the both of them and then getting knocked away. They again blindly deduce that Palkia was created a pocket dimension to hide in, and he took the town with him for some unknown reason.
So I think because he's the protector of the space dimension, and he notices that there's a rift between the space dimension and the time dimension, he has taken this little island and preserved it in a third dimension. Not the third dimension.
Wait, this is a fourth dimension because they were fighting in a third dimension.
Right. There's another dimension,
right?
A separate dimension where this town can just exist on its own. I don't know why he's not preserving the rest of the world in separate dimensions, but it seemed like he was like, oh, maybe these guys can fix it, so we'll keep them in this like spare dimension I have,
right? So
they can figure this out before we destroy all of existence. But then, like, later actions kind of suggest they're not actually
preserving
these two gods aren't thinking that much into it.
They're like indifferent to this.
Yeah. This is all just like a byproduct of their battle somehow. So I don't know. That was my best attempt to explain it.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, and it doesn't make sense how these people discover it. They just start making all these assertions out of nowhere, and some of it from the prophecies of the dude who kept the journal. The great-great-grandfather of Alice, Alicia's dad.
Other way around.
No, Alice is the current lady. Alicia is the great-grandmother.
Yeah.
Right,
so her dad, the great-great-grandfather, is Goaty, Game of the Year. Grandfather of the Year.
Greatest of all time of the year.
Grandpa of the Year.
Grandpa of the Year.
Yeah, we get a long, protracted, two legendary Pokemon fighting in the sky thing.
And then we learn that their fight is going to destroy the existence.
Yeah.
It's going to destroy the concept of existence.
Right. And Darkrai, who keeps trying to get in the way of him, gets totally beat up. And everyone comes up and apologizes to him. And the town starts decreating itself. And this is where I start feeling like, oh, fuck, this is like an Avengers movie at this point. Like, we have all our heroes gathered in this place that they got to by unfortunate circumstance. There's these this unbeatable conflict raging in front of them.
The world is collapsing around them.
Right, and all of them are displaying their most positive qualities in full effect to try and stand up to it. And the stakes feel so high. The stakes feel like, oh, everyone that's trapped in this town is going to die.
Yeah, they really set it up nice. I was still invested here, even though we just watched a long bird fight.
Right.
One thing I did want to mention here is that everybody's apologizing to Darkrai, and Darkrai recognizes Alice as Alicia, the little girl that saved him. So he, this whole time, when he saved Alice when she was a child, thought it was Alice's grandmother, Alicia. So Darkrai sees Alice, says, Alicia? And Alice goes, no, it's Alice. Alicia was my grandmother. But does Darkrai know what a grandmother is? Because otherwise he's just like, I don't know what that means, but have I been getting your name wrong all this time?
Yeah, I don't know how a Pokemon would get the concept of, like, hereditary.
Yeah, I swear you told me Alicia. This was about 90 years ago.
But again, we aren't surprised at all that Darkrai can form speech. That's it. We're just accepting it by now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. That's it.
Ago.
That's the last I'll say about it. That's it. I'm just as long as we're all on the same page that we're just going to accept it and there's no explanation for it. Cool. Let's just.
I think I accepted it just like several movies ago. Like at first it was really disturbing when a Pokemon could speak English because it's like these are things you capture and make fight each other. But then
everyone else has been able to communicate telepathically, which makes a little more sense. Because thoughts can't be exactly like thoughts are thoughts. Like they aren't in any sort of like language or anything like that. Like if they're communicated, they can be translated. Blah blah blah. But when
do we know that Darkrai is using a mouth and tongue and teeth? Like I think she might be telepathic.
It might be telepathic too. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. My thing is, any Pokemon can talk at any time.
At this point,
the only rule here.
Oh my God, guys, I can't. All right, I don't want to give anything away.
No, give it away.
No.
Give it away.
In about 12 movies, you guys are gonna lose your goddamn minds.
Cool.
They all learn to talk.
It's just the one thing that I know about a movie that didn't happen all that. All right, let's keep talking.
Start cussing.
Okay. So, oh God, where
they discover that Alice comes up with the idea that anytime she plays this one song on her leaf that her grandfather taught her, it calms all the Pokemon in the area down.
Well, right, because what's his name said, Tonio says in the diary, it said, for the future, I needed to leave Oracion for the world. And Alice is like, oh, yo, that's that song I play on the leaf.
Right, because
that's my leaf song.
It's not a Pokemon? That was that moment for me.
Then they explain that Oracion means prayer.
Mm.
Uh-oh.
Well, I guess it's a prayer to the god. See, the thing is, if this has any religious message, it is a very unique and specific religion. Because
it's absorbed by the lightning rod, which is Dialga and Palkia, our god. Yeah. So they assume that there is a disc that has Oracion on it for that music tower, largest instrument.
Space-time tower.
So they go back to the tower to find it, and this is where we find out Oracion means prayer, because Alice, they can't find the disc. They can't find it anywhere. They're like, there's so many discs. How do we know which one it is? And Alice is like, has a meaning, what seems like a meaningful flashback, and she's like, she's flashing back to her grandmother teaching her it, and then her grandmother saying, Oracion means prayer, and it seems like so significant, like, oh, this will solve the mystery, And then we cut back to the present, and she just sees the graphic on the sheet music is the same as the graphic on one of the discs, and she's like, "Oh, it's that one." It's like why did we need that flashback?
It felt like
Uncharted.
This felt like one of the puzzles in Uncharted, where you take a look at a picture and then you flip it over. And then you look closer, you see a symbol on it, you look at your options, you see that same symbol on an option, and then once they pick out the disc, they have to put it in the right spot, and there's this whole other puzzle. Like, it just felt like a puzzle in
Nathan Drake puzzle.
New generation video game.
Well, the whole thing felt like a video game.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I guess the whole thing is a video game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're essentially walking a playthrough of a special mission.
Yes.
So they send Dawn and Ash up the tower with Oracion, the music disc,
in a hot air balloon in the middle of a bird fight.
But then we cut to Brock, and he stays on the ground, and this is where I'm saying Brock was impressive in this movie. He is helping usher everybody to safety. He's like helping evacuate the town to like a safe central location.
And he's not hitting on anyone.
No.
There are women in this town.
Yeah. But for a second you get this feeling. This is where I started noticing like the Avengers comparison is like you get the feeling like, oh, he's done this. These people are in good hands because Brock has been through so many of these. He's just calm and collected and like, yeah, everyone.
So many of these world-ending events he has been central in. You could also start to question them because they have been central to every world-ending event.
Somebody here sounds like a Tony Stark.
All right.
So, They start ushering. Yeah, he's like evacuating the town, and then he's like, "Well, and I'll stay back, and I will protect you all with my Pokemon." And he pulls out his Pokemon and starts like fighting some gods.
Yeah,
and you're like, "Oh fuck, okay, all right. I guess Brock is cool. Like, I guess Brock is kind of cool. Like when he's not being a total perv creep, Brock is kind of cool. He's kind of a hero." Anyway, so they start floating up to the tower in the balloon. Dawn and Ash both fall out of the balloon, but land safely on a platform. Like
Dawn falls off. Everybody goes, "Oh,
no!"
And then she just lands
both
on a
feet.
platform. Yes, standing straight up. It's like 20 feet away, and everybody on the balloon, everybody left on the balloon, is just like, "Oh. Okay."
And then Ash, the exact same thing happens to Ash.
Except she does it on purpose.
Yeah. An ass hat. Ass. Ass has Oracion.
Hey, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Best joke of the podcast.
Thanks.
The episode.
All right. So Ass has Oracion. And he's running up the spiral steps again. The existence of these steps starts coming into question.
Right.
It's a chunk of stairs that just start ceasing to exist.
Right.
In the middle of this stairwell.
Right. And the hot air balloon falls apart and crashes to the ground. Yeah. Tonio saves Alice for real this time.
He does. With one of those balloon Pokemon. He stops her from like falling off the ledge she landed to when she fell out of the hot air balloon.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's a long series of events that he just happens to be there to save her the last time her life is in danger in this 2-minute span. But he does it nonetheless.
So all of Ash and Dawn's Pokemon start protecting them from Palkia's blasts.
Yeah, and they use ice to fix the stairs that don't exist anymore.
Yeah, which was cool because like in this movie, they're actually using Pokemon to do stuff. So it feels like not just like a weird anime movie that Pokemon happen to be in. It feels like a Pokemon movie. This movie's fucking good.
Although I got to be honest, at this point, as patient as I had been with this movie up to this point, and naturally patient, I'm enjoying this movie.
Yeah.
Not enjoying. I'm tolerating this movie. It all kind of checks out. And then at this point, I was like, all right, that's enough.
Really?
Play the damn record.
This point. Well, there's a point I feel that way in a minute, but at this point, I think there's this scene where, again, Brock is defending this group of people huddled in the lobby of the space-time tower, and all of our heroes, except for Ash and Dawn, who are running up the tower, are gathered on the outside of it, and the sky is black, and there's gods fighting in the air, and they drop the music out. There's no music. And it's like, oh, shit, like, this is effective. Like, this is an effective dramatic scene in a Pokemon movie.
Yeah. It was still engaging.
But it's broken when Darkrai yells, "This garden is everyone's." It's like, I'm not sure you know what's going on, Darkrai.
We're beyond fighting over the garden.
He still thinks he's in the Pikachu short from earlier. Oh yeah, but so then eventually, after Ash falls down the stairs a couple more times, they get to the top of the tower, and this is where I'm like, okay, come on. And it's the false stakes of like, it won't fit in the slot.
Yeah, why did they make this song so hard to play?
I know.
It's a hidden disc in a wall in this tower that you have to decipher a code to get to, and then it goes in its own special spot to play.
And they're like, it won't fit in the spot. And then Tonio was like, if they hit each other once more, we're all doomed. And it's like,
there's two different times where he's like, nope. If they do, I mean, they don't hit each other at all between those two times. Because
Darkrai captures them in like this pocket dimension thing.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But once you say it once, you don't have to say it again. You've said it to the same group of people twice. Just remember, everything ends.
So they get the Oracion into the right slot, and then they're like, oh, it doesn't have any electricity. And that's when it's like, okay, we get it. It doesn't have electricity? I wonder how Ash Ketchum will solve the problem of no electricity.
I thought he had left his Pikachu behind. This part doesn't make any sense. He had left his Pikachu behind when he hopped off the hot air balloon, and all of a sudden, that when they need electricity, he can just go, Pikachu, hit it with a Thunderbolt, and then Pikachu is there.
I don't remember. I thought Pikachu was running up the stairs with them. No. Okay.
I'm sure of it.
Okay, we're trying to rush through the end of it. In case listeners, this seems a little harried. We're trying to rush through the end of it because we're an hour over the time that we needed to finish. But yeah, okay, so Pachirisu and Pikachu zap the thing, and then it starts playing, and I swear there's a metaphor here because there's what is called a prayer playing across this town, and it right as two gods are about to destroy the universe, and then it settles everything down and the tower grows like a flower or some shit.
I don't think they were trying to get anything out of this.
Yeah, that is
but
because
on a separate note, have you heard of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?
Why does it have to be called prayer?
Literature here.
Like, prayer saves the day in this movie.
No, I know. I was just
right, but for a prayer to be okay. So if this were a religious metaphor, that metaphor would be praying stops God from destroying the earth.
Okay, you're right.
Pray to stop God.
It's just like, please don't.
God, please don't kill me. Well, that's how I used to pray when I was a child. Before I became like an atheist, I used to pray like, please, God, don't kill me. Please don't kill me today.
Please, thank you for keeping me alive today. Please don't let me die tomorrow.
Right.
Amen.
Well, I mean, like, lay me down to sleep is actually a pretty scary prayer. As they lay me down to sleep. That used to freak me
my soul to keep.
Fuck out as a kid.
And if he doesn't, I don't care. I'll pull down his underwear.
Actually, That's not a prayer. That's a Metallica song.
Oh, sorry. I always get this confused. I always get my Metallica songs and my prayers mixed up.
Yo. Okay, if what happens when they put Oracion in the player and then fire it up is the tower glows and turns into a flower and also turns into a bird.
Yeah.
Right?
Does that happen anytime? Like if they had just done that last week when the stakes weren't so high, would it have done it then too?
It does. It grows a bunch of branches out of these two towers, but it grows them with like flowers and leaves growing off of these branches. But they're all shiny gold, and the branches grow into the form of a bird.
Yeah,
of like a phoenix. So it's a tower that looks like a tree that looks like a bird. And these added phalanges, or whatever you want to call them,
right.
start adding horns and string instruments to the tower that was previously only able to play bell tones.
It is the world's largest musical instrument.
It's crazy. This thing goes nuts.
So Dialga leaves, then Ash starts yelling at Palkia. And Palkia fixes everything. He's like, fix everything, you idiot!
Put us back!
Put us back! I hate you! And then he does it, and then everything's fine again. And then everyone's sad because Darkrai's dead.
They play in memoriam for Darkrai. Like,
yeah,
when Paul Walker died, and the Fast and the Furious movie ends with just like a bunch of shots of Paul Walker across old Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah,
they do the same thing. They just play a sad song.
They could have just ended the fucking movie, but instead they show a bunch of scenes of Darkrai that we saw in this movie.
He's only been alive for this movie.
Yeah,
these aren't memories. This is what we're using to piece the story together.
This is
right
shit
now.
we just saw literally 5 minutes ago. Anyway.
God, you remember that though? And everything he's done in the movie to this point is just him going, "Go away." These are just black and white, silent playbacks of him in slow motion telling people to fuck off.
But then they all start walking away like, oh, we're sad. And then Ash goes, huh? And he turns around and then look who's on top of the tower. It's the grumpy emo ice cream cone designed by Tim Burton himself. We see Darkrai. And then the movie just fucking...
That's right. Death isn't permanent. None of this matters.
And it just ends. It's just over. It's gone.
What a great moral to teach all children is that death just isn't permanent. And the bad things that happen can always be reversed. There are no consequences to actions.
Yeah, the biggest consequence to any action in a Pokemon movie is you have to say goodbye to your friend.
Exactly.
Okay, so just quick wrap-up thoughts. This is an Avengers movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Second, this was maybe the best one. Or this is in like my top 3. It's fucking cool. Do you guys have any other thoughts?
It's also Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
I'd say parts and bits. I'm gonna put it in my 6. I'm gonna put it at number 6.
This is like a movie. This is like a movie, and it's like a Pokemon movie, and it's like a movie.
Yeah,
no, it's like any other of the Pokemon movies where things happen weren't explained, and it's all confusing and weird.
Everything's explained.
I felt like this is a standard Pokemon movie as far as the like plot synopsis goes.
Right.
Yeah?
The execution of it is what I wish every other Pokemon movie had been.
It keeps the excitement up. It keeps the pace going.
Yeah. There's not too. I mean, there's
a couple
they definitely
parts where
take
it's
like 5 minutes to run up a flight of steps, but outside of like, there's far fewer moments of them just filling time, and like they let the plot unroll over the full hour and a half instead of having a movie with 2 different plots.
Right. But much like an Avengers movie, there's no character development in the movie, but there is a lot of like exploration of who we already know these characters to be, which is unfortunate because we don't know who Dawn is at all.
Man, you guys got a lot more out of this movie than I did.
You're damn
This was
right.
not. I did not get as much out of this movie.
Actually, I think that's the theme of this podcast.
It's true.
Okay, so Guys, can we each do
Christ.
our rankings in a minute?
Do we have time?
Yeah,
Okay.
just fucking go.
All right.
Here, I have a list of them.
You have a list? You've had
God
a
damn, you
list?
have how long have you had this list?
Shut up.
Where are we? Okay,
Everybody,
Rise
we
of
just
Darkrai.
gotta keep going.
Number one is still Celebi's nastiness. That thing is still fucking rad. Number two has to be...
Oh, you gotta go faster. You just gotta
Shit.
speed up.
No, I had these.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I swore I was going to come in here and just do a good job.
I'm taking
Christ.
it from you.
Oh,
You're-
Matt.
Okay.
Pat, you got 3 minutes, pal. Let's do this.
Celebi, what's usually my number two? I really
All right, I'm just gonna fucking go through. You fuck off. I'm doing it.
Matt, you go.
Number one, Darkrai. Number two, Lucario. Number three, Celebi. Number four, Jirachi. Number five, fuck. Holy shit. I'm fucking up. Number five, Mewtwo Returns. Number six, the first movie. Number seven, Deoxys. Number eight, did I say Lucario already?
Yeah, you
Yes.
put it number
Okay.
one.
Number eight,
This one too.
Pokemon Ranger. Number nine, Pokemon Heroes. Number 10, oh fuck, I fucked up. Throw Pokemon 3 all the way up there. Switch out. Throw it up to like
Which one's Pokemon?
that
3?
Spell of the Unknown.
Oh, right. Damn it. That was it. That's the one that threw me off because it's just listed as Pokemon 3 on your...
Number 11 is I guess Deoxys because we always forget about that one. No, throw that higher because of the. So throw.
Now you're taking too long.
No, throw Pokemon 3 up to number 4. Throw Deoxys up to number 5. Move everything down 1, and the lowest one is Pokemon the Movie 2000. Ashley, can you do it? Super fast.
1 Jirachi, 2 Celebi, 3 Enya, 4 Cario, 5 Latios and Latias, 6 this one, 7 Deoxys, 8 Mew Strikes Back, 9 fuck Ranger, 10 God motherfucker.
Did you say Mewtwo Returns?
Yes. I said Strikes Back. Yeah.
Oh.
Fucking fucker.
Latios and Latias.
I already
No,
said
she-
that one.
Darkrai. Did you say this one?
Mirage. The Mirage.
Mirage, right, the one you just
11, 2000, and 10, the first one.
Damn. Okay. So my number one is Celebi. Hang on. I get the names confused. Number one is Celebi. Number two is Unknown. Number three is the first movie. Number 4 is this one. Number 5 is Pokemon Ranger. Wait, no. Number 5 is Lucario. Number 6 is Pokemon Ranger. Number 7 is Jirachi? Wishmaker? Number 8 is
My
Mewtwo
head's gonna
Returns.
explode.
Number 9 is Mirage Pokemon. Number 10 is Deoxys, I guess. Did I say Deoxys yet?
You didn't.
Deoxys, and then number 11 is Pokemon the Movie.
We have
2000.
12.
Fabulous.
What's the 12th one?
Oh shit!
we
I
have
missed 2 of
11.
them then. I only listed 10.
Which one's Pokemon Forever?
All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to The Very Worst. We won't run out of time next time we record one of these. You can find us on Twitter at The Very Worst Pod. You can email us at theveryworstpodcast@gmail.com. Please rate, like, subscribe, all that things.
Call us and leave
Call
a
our number
voicemail.
at 607-323-7168.
Yeah, call that number. Call us about anything. Tell us about a pen. Tell us what you thought about this movie.
Tell us you love us. Confess
Tell
your
us
love to
your
us.
tell us your rankings for these movies.
Don't do that to me.
Now, next Tuesday, we will be back with Giratina and the Sky Warrior.
Jesus Christ.
That's a This is a Pokemon movie?
Yeah, it's a Pokemon movie. It is on that list of that I have like the averages of all those.
Yeah.
All the ones. Darkrai was number 5 on that list of like average scores.
Okay.
But Giratina is 5th from the bottom.
Oh boy.
So
the polar opposite of the movie.
Yeah. Yep. So Giratina and the Sky Warrior. Now we don't have an outro to this Pokemon.
Bye.
Bye.